friends and colleagues, with deep sorrow and grief, we all have assembled here today to offer our respect and prayer to the memory of Professor SParasuraman. Indeed, Professor Parasuraman has left behind a huge legacy, a legacy in the social sciences and perhaps beyond social sciences, legacy here at TISS and beyond TISS. Many of you with whom I have grown also here on the campus, and if I am here today, only because of Professor Parasuraman. Leaving my home discipline in political science, he brought me to TISS and taught me pedagogies focusing on equity, social justice. Some of these things are so close to his heart. So therefore, we have assembled here, all of you, together, in a prayer mode, to remember him, to share our memories with him, and to continue with the legacy left behind by Professor Parasuraman. I would like to invite now Dean Academic Professor Shah Jahan to begin the proceedings for the prayer and remembrance for Professor SParasuraman. Professor Shah Jahan.
Dear friends, colleagues, well-wishers of Professor Parasuraman, Sulabha ma'am could not come here today, but Professor Parasuraman's daughter Mukta, son-in-law Siddharth, grandson also did not come today, Rishabh. We offer our sincere gratitude to you for agreeing to be here today for this remembrance and celebration of Professor Parasuraman's legacy and work. As Professor Ashwini Kumar has said, we are here today to pay our respectful tribute to Professor Parasuraman. He has left an indelible mark in the history of TISS and in the minds of each one of us. Each one of us who has happened to work with him, interact with him, has an unforgettable story of his kindness, compassion, and nurturing nature of Professor Parasuraman. Social media since September 2nd morning onwards has been flooded with messages by his students, his colleagues, his people who have worked with him, known him for shorter time, longer duration. Everybody has shared their shock and disbelief. He has left us too soon. As I mentioned earlier, Professor Parasuraman being referred in the past is very difficult. One of the student, Lakshmidhar Singh, wrote in his wall, "With your leadership, students from vulnerable section could dream of studying in TISS." He has been mentioned by one Satyaswarup Panda as a true champion of inclusiveness. His compassionate, empathetic, and action-oriented approach towards marginalized are beyond description. For everyone, each one of us, it's a personal loss. One Mr. Bipin PB in his Facebook post says, "So you became part of our consciousness, and we carry that forward, your teachings." The kind adjectives used for him in all these posts and personal interactions with a large number of people has not left anything to be qualified to be a teacher, an able, empathetic leader, administrator, and an academic and a researcher par excellence. An international student, Digambote, wrote, "This story is incomplete without you, sir." Today, being the Teachers' Day, is the most appropriate day to pay respects to Professor Parasuraman. We decided, all of us together, decided to celebrate the life and work of Professor Parasuraman today and henceforth. Professor Parasuraman hated ceremonial functions. He wanted actions. Whenever we organize any conference or seminar, he used to say that, "What after this?" Is there going to be any action, or is there going to be any publication and knowledge building? Sir, we commit ourselves to continue the legacy and the indomitable spirit you have instilled in each one of us. One of the students even exhorted that if you have to take the stand of the people. Today's event is a solemn occasion. We will have his colleagues, students, friends, and well-wishers sharing their intense experiences they had with Professor Parasuraman. We will make it very short in the interest of everyone. Those who are speaking will speak very briefly and sharing their experiences and love and compassion they have experienced from Professor Parasuraman. We have a very brief, short process today. Professor Shalini Bharat will present her views and thoughts and experiences, followed by Professor Jaswal will be making her experiences presented before you. And she will also be reading some messages from our ex-chairman of the governing board, Mr. Ramdurai, messages from him, Professor Armaiti Desai, Professor D.K. Srivastava, who is currently the vice chairman of the UGC, Professor Vijaya Srivastava, special secretary and financial advisor to Ministry of Health, retired, followed by Professor Kalpana Sarthi will present her views as well as from the campuses. We have a list of people who have shown their interest to share their thoughts. We will call them one by one. After that, we will have a very short video depiction of Professor Parasuraman's life in TIS. And finally, we will end with Professor Ashwini Kumar presenting a poetic prayer collage. We will make it today's function very solemn and respectful to Professor Parasuraman. And I invite Director Professor Shalini Bharat to make her thoughts.
Dear friends, dear friends and colleagues, we are gathered here today to condole the passing on of Professor Parasuraman, our former director, on 2nd September. We are also here to, of course, cherish his memory and commit ourselves to carry on his legacy. Sitting here at this quadrangle, from where he addressed us on many occasions, it is hard to imagine that he is not in our midst anymore. And harder still to think that it's been just 4 years and 6 months that we bid him farewell on his retirement. Friends, Professor Parasuraman served the Institute during 2 stints, first from 1981 to 1998 as a faculty, and then from August 2014 to February 2018 as director. Both these stints were impactful for him in various ways. Trained as a demographer and an anthropologist, his entry into India's premier institute of social work, and consequently his introduction to the profession of social work quite early in his career, certainly influenced and shaped his career trajectory. Social work education and practice at TIS always had a strong people-centric focus and was grounded in community-based action. The Institute has always been at the forefront of constantly shaping and contextualizing social work as a profession to respond to the country's myriad needs. It is hard for any academic not to get influenced by these distinct educational features of TIS, a university quite unlike any other here or abroad. During a personal conversation with me, he had once said to me how he found teaching at TIS so much more meaningful and fulfilling. Today, on Teachers' Day, we remember him as a much respected teacher to generations of social work students. And with scores of faculty members and students, he was also part of several post-disaster relief and rehabilitation teamwork that TIS undertook as part of its commitment to people and communities. For many of us social scientists, just like him, these were early lessons into community-based work, and he never shied away from soiling his hands, as it were. As a faculty in the research unit for youth, child and youth research, Professor Parasuraman was part of the Institute's rich culture of social research. The 8 multi- and interdisciplinary research units established between 1969 and 1984 by the former directors, Professor M.S. Gore, who founded 5 of these, and Professor Armaiti Desai, who founded 3 such research units, had already made this quite prominent as a hub of social research, which was inter- and multidisciplinary, as I said. Professor Parasuraman was himself an active researcher and published widely. As director, he not only inspired both students and faculty to do cutting-edge research and was instrumental in leading scores of sponsored projects funded by government, civil society, UN, and international organizations. But he also continued to undertake some frontier research. And of course, he guided several scholars for their master's, MPhil, and doctoral dissertations. He was the motivational force behind many large projects of the Institute, often goading faculty colleagues to take lead and ownership. Another area he gave his full support and commitment was to the field action projects of the Institute, a unique aspect of TIS academics. He supported the existing ones and encouraged several more new such initiatives during his directorship. Professor Parasuraman will always, of course, be remembered also for restructuring the Institute and expanding it in size and scope. In a very participatory and collaborative manner, he led the faculty in expanding from 4 PG degree programs to over 50 and increased the number of graduates passing out from around 350 in 2004 to over 1,500 by the time he retired. He also led the Institute in adding 2 more off-campuses in Guwahati and Hyderabad on the invitation of the then state governments. The Tuljapur rural campus, established in 1986-87, was already functioning well, but it saw a significant expansion under his dynamic leadership. He dreamt big for all these off-campuses and encouraged their expansion into new age degree programs, research activities, collaborative work, including training and advocacy work. In more ways than one, the expansion he led was not merely numerical, but visionary, very systematic, very substantial, and very robust. Professor Parasuraman was much loved and respected for his caring and compassionate attitude and action towards the marginalized sections of society, be it among our own students or outside of the Institute. His student-centric approach and easy accessibility for all, staff, faculty, and students, made him very, very popular among everyone. On a more personal note, I would like to say I shared a vibrant community life at the campus with him and his family. Having Mukta, his daughter, and Siddharth, his son-in-law, attend this event today, in some sense brings a closure to that chapter in our lives. At his farewell function, I had said he was a man in a hurry. He not only thought big, but almost ran with those big ideas. If you all remember how much we wanted him to slow down with his ideas when he was restructuring, or when he gave us the idea of restructuring, but he would not listen, and he was already running even before we were just trying to tie our shoelaces. Ultimately, he seemed to be in a hurry to leave this world too. The entire TIS community joins me in praying for everlasting peace to him and offers our heartfelt condolences to his family and friends. Om Shanti.
Friends, colleagues, Professor Bharat, Professor Ashwini Kumar, Professor Shahjahan, and Mukta and Siddharth. Today, as we gather together to remember and celebrate the lives and times of Professor Parasuraman, I can almost see him looking at us with a gleam in his eye, saying almost, all of you are talking about me. You know, that half smile on his face, I can see it even today. I can see friends who have worked with him over the years, students who have been here during his tenure as faculty and later as director, and of course faculty colleagues who have worked with him from a short span of time to many years together, all gathered here today. As I was sitting on the dais, I was thinking, we all look so solemn, and I also have been looking very solemn, and I don't feel very good about that. Which is why I was thinking of him and feeling that he would have had a smile, a gleam in his eye, and listening and nodding to somebody or the other and connecting and taking it forward. I'm going to spend a little time on reading some messages from friends and colleagues who have worked with him. But before I go into that, I just want to reflect briefly on my own small little journey with him of 30-odd years. During my tenure at TIS, I remember seeing him as a young faculty with a beard, which was unusual. During that time, nobody had a full beard as he had, and he used to be walking very fast down the corridor, and he would stop and connect with you whether he knew you or he did not. He would stop and talk and ask who you were and talk to you. Later, when I joined the institute as a faculty, full-time faculty, we worked together when I was in the Department of Social Work, later when I was with JTSDS, the Jamsetji Tata School of Disaster Studies, still later in R&D, and still later as DD, as Deputy Director. Throughout that journey, it's been a journey with a friend, a colleague, somebody you enjoyed doing things with, but somebody you had the freedom to disagree, negotiate, and almost bargain with. Someone who listened to you, who heard you, included what you had to say in our journey together for taking our work and this institute forward. I remember when we used to work in the field of disasters. I've worked at Kutch with him, later in Afghanistan, Kashmir, and still later when we were looking at some work in Myanmar. I would fight with him and say that when you talk about development, do you not think of well-being? Do you not think of psychosocial care, mental health, and health as a part of that development that we talk about? Why do you think about it only as a specialized area of work? And he would say, and many of you know, yes, Ma, sit down and tell me what you mean. And we would talk about it, and he would think about how to integrate it and what to do about it, and look at ways of how you could explore it scientifically, how you could undertake research and later include it in the curriculum that we were partaking to our students. I especially remember the hard negotiations I had when I was Dean School of Social Work in bringing back an area of work which had moved on to another school, which was social entrepreneurship. And I said, this must be in the school and this program has to be taught here. And he said, but it's already being taught in another school. I said, but what, and who says that we can't have it here because it was conceptualized, initiated. We have a particular way of looking at it, and we think it will make a difference in the way we teach our students and the group of students, that cohort of students who will make a difference out there in the field. He said, fine, call a meeting, do what you have to do, and let's see what to do. So I called colleagues from the School of Management and Labor Studies where the program was underway, other colleagues who were engaged with it, and for a year we met, discussed, framed, took it to the academic council. Twice it came back with questions, queries, but finally it was brought in and taught. There are many such examples of mutual learning, mutual give and take, and him pushing not just his boundaries but our boundaries. The willingness to take risks, the willingness to work towards the larger goal, that larger mission, that vision that he had. As I was thinking about him today, I'm a doodler, as many of you know. I rarely write completely what I want to speak. I like to speak what I think at that point in time. But I was thinking he was a much loved teacher, all of us know that, a very sensitive and innovative researcher who was willing to relook at the scientific frames that were imposed on certain methodologies, certain frameworks. A leader. He led from the front. When the two campuses, off campuses, were being set up, some of us were part of the teams which helped to think, brainstorm, look at ways of doing what had to be done. A visionary in social change and higher education. He was all that. He was all that, and he was much more. Much more. And above all, I was thinking, he was a human being with warmth, with compassion, with empathy, the will to push boundaries. When we restructured in 2004-2006, prior to that, in the Tulsapur campus, which was almost shut because an earlier leader felt that it was a campus which was not really taking us anywhere, and we were only investing energy, time, resources. When we formed a working group, he was not here, he was with Oxfam, later with ActionAid. We formed a working group of faculty to say that this campus will not close. We must do what needs to be done. When he came back, he said, can I join this group? We said, welcome. He joined it, and he was with us till he left for the World Commission of Dams. We fought, we negotiated, we had fun. We had a lot of evening fun parties where he tried to relax. And I would tell him that I write cheers at the bottom of my page to remind myself that we need to cheer life. And you need to also learn to do that. I want to say here today that we should celebrate all that he has been as a friend, as a colleague, as someone who has added so much of value, so many new dimensions to what we all together seek to build. We also need to learn to celebrate and cheer each other. So I want to say, let's say 3 cheers for Professor Parasuraman. Sujata, you want to lead? Hooray! 3. Hooray! I want to read out 3 of the I would say, remembrances that have been sent by a few senior colleagues. I would like to begin with Professor Armaiti Desai, who has very, very fond memories of Professor Parasuraman. She writes, and I quote, "It's a sad news of the passing away of Professor Parasuraman, our colleague with whom I worked very closely as director. As a young colleague, I found him very promising and was not sure that he had adequate challenge in the position he was in. An opportunity came when TIS was requested to monitor the displacement at the Narmada Dam site, and I immediately thought of him. He took on the challenge, and with my full support, he did a very credible job in spite of many hurdles put in the way, and produced, typical of him, 19 reports. Professor Parasuraman took upon himself the document prepared by an internal committee I had, as Professor Desai says, I had appointed for restructuring the institute and the mission and vision for the institute. He went much beyond the document thrust and brought his own ideas while implementing the suggestions in the document. Professor Parasuraman drove himself hard in a spirit to excel, worked long hours with a very expanded institution with a not so strong funding base. He was an achiever who believed in working hard for the end result. He will be remembered for leaving a broader scope for the various curricular offerings and additional 2 campuses, or off-campuses as we call them, besides developing the Tulsapur Rural Campus, which was already in existence when he took over as director. He could have continued to make many contributions but departed from this world before his time. May his soul rest in everlasting peace, and may his wife and daughter have the strength to bear the loss. We have also received condolence messages from Mr. Ramadurai, our earlier chairperson of the governing board, and other members of the former GB, that is Dr. Shirin Jijiboy, Mr. Satish Pradhan, and many others who have condoled his passing on. Several members of our academic council, the Research Council, and the Institutional Review Board have also condoled his passing on. I would like to read out 2 more, one from our colleague, Professor Deepak Kumar Srivastav, who is a professor with the School of Management and Labor Studies and currently has been appointed as the Vice Chairman of the UGC. He writes, I came in close contact with Professor Parasuraman during my tenure as Dean, School of Management and Labor Studies in 2012 and as Deputy Director, Guwahati Campus in 2016. Professor Parasuraman has demonstrated a very high standard of nurturant task leadership. He was also my mentor throughout. His wisdom and vision for higher education is a benchmark. Professor Parasuraman is definitely a role model for his passion and commitment towards the ethos of TIS. His untimely departure is a personal loss to me. I am confident that his work will continue to be an inspiration for all of us in the future as well. My deep condolences, prayer to the Almighty to provide peace to the departed soul and courage to the bereaved family to bear this untimely loss. Vijaya Srivastav, Special Secretary and Financial Advisor from the Ministry of Health and Ayush, retired, writes, Professor Parasuraman's valuable and unique contribution in all that he was associated with can never be forgotten. It is an apt and divine coincidence that we are paying our tributes and respects on Teachers' Day today. My association with him, he writes, came about when the PMRDF scheme was being formulated in the Ministry of Rural Development. He, along with his enthusiastic team from TIS, engaged with us, guiding us patiently with his vision and expertise. The scheme was a huge success, a significant milestone, giving meaningful results for the districts where it was implemented. He was kind and gracious enough to stay in touch even if after I moved to another ministry and took out time to meet me, especially when I was ailing. I continued to seek his advice and guidance on professional matters confronting me. His wisdom, his knowledge, and his ability to come up with the best solutions is something we all need to learn from. Rest in peace, sir. You're a kind and noble soul who touched our minds and hearts deeply. We will miss you, but your memories will live with us forever. I think these words we all echo, and I would like to end here. Thank you.
Good evening, and this is working. So, family of Professor Parasuraman, respected colleagues on the dais, and all our colleagues and well-wishers of Professor Parasuraman who are here today. It's a very unreal moment when we are sitting here sharing our thoughts about somebody who represented life at its fullest in terms of the energy. I'm here to read out the condolence messages that we have received from each of the off-campuses. So the first message comes from Tuljapur, the TIS Tuljapur. I read it out. This is from Professor Ramesh Jare on behalf of the faculty, staff and students. Professor Parasuraman had a very close relation with TIS Tuljapur campus since its inception in 1986. And played a vital role in the development of the campus over the years, both as a faculty member and later in his capacity as director. He had a great vision for the growth and development of Tuljapur campus and supported the campus in every possible way. He personally mentored many of the faculty members, staff, and students who have been in Tuljapur campus over the years and provided them with all encouragement. During his visits to Tuljapur campus, he would like walking around the campus, interacting with everyone, from the support staff to the students, to inquire about their well-being. Everyone in the campus remembers him with great affection and respect for his simplicity, warmth, commitment to the poor and marginalized sections of society, and his visionary leadership. His demise is a great loss to TIS and particularly to the Tuljapur campus, which he loved so much. Even in his condition of ill health recently, he had expressed his wish to visit Tuljapur campus. We will try our best to live up to his vision and expectations that he had from the campus. The faculty, staff, and students of TIS Tuljapur campus would like to extend their deepest condolences to his family in this hour of immense grief. May his soul rest in peace. I now read out the condolence message that has been sent by Professor Asim Prakash, Deputy Director, TIS, Hyderabad off-campus. We, the faculty, administrative staff, and students of the TIS off-campus at Hyderabad, deeply mourn the demise of Professor Parasuraman. The Hyderabad campus of TIS was in fact set up under his leadership, testifying once again to his dynamism and his visionary role as an institution builder. For Professor Parasuraman, there was no challenge that could not be overcome. He was unstinting in the support he extended at every stage in the growth of our campus, including support to the students. We are today deeply conscious of the fact that while Professor Parasuraman is no more, his legacy lives on. Thank you, and with warm regards from the Deputy Director on behalf of the campus. I now read out the condolence message that the TIS Guwahati off-campus, which I represent on behalf of all of us at TIS Guwahati off-campus. With profound sorrow, the TIS Guwahati off-campus faculty, staff, research scholars, and students offer condolences to the family of our beloved Professor S. Parasuraman. Tall in stature, with his humble demeanor and decisive leadership, we believe he was truly the stuff that legends are made of. We remain indebted to him for the direction and the benevolent guidance he offered in establishing and shaping our campus. He won the hearts of several in the Northeast. We believe that he will continue to be part of our lives as we try to impart his deep-felt values of empathy and compassion to those who pass through TIS Guwahati. Officials in Dispur, colleagues at different educational institutions in the Northeast, students, grassroots workers in the rural areas of the region will remember him as a constant cheerleader of the Northeast. We offer our heartfelt condolences to all of you in his family. Solace at a time like this can never be truly enough, and yet we satisfy ourselves by saying that his legacy will live on in each of us.
Hello, hello, hello. May I request Professor Shivaraju to say a few words. I request all of you to be very brief so that a larger number of people are, indicated their interest to share.
Thank you, Professor. I still remember Professor Parasuraman name itself is very vibrant. You know, whenever we think about the name itself resonates, and I had the opportunity to, 1984, when I applied, he was the guiding person. When I applied for a teaching department here, he was the person who said, you will not get that admission because you don't have that degree, so you should apply for a demographer position in urban studies where there was a vacancy. So otherwise, imagine, my entry also might have been very difficult. And I still remember how evenings, I was also staying temporarily in IAPS. Mukta was 1 year, 6 months, like that. So with the full lungi, he used to take her and walk around campus. I find that is the best time to move around. So he used to call her with Tamil name, Muttu. Sometimes he used to, talk to her, and sometimes with me. And that is how he has. So all through, so my interaction was very, very informal. And that is one thing which I liked it. And when I came to TISS, the first assignment, I still remember with the Sardar Sarovar project, where I used to see that Monday to Friday, he used to be in the campus, taking classes, research guidance, everything. And Friday evening, he used to take his airbag with all his ration and these things, go to the Narmada project site. So I used to discuss with him, was there any opportunity for us to associate? So he said, yes, let's work it out. So 6 of faculty, he said, you all, I am going to take you, and we will conduct village studies. Each village has been assigned for one faculty. The entire framework he developed. And very interesting happened. All 6 of us with ration, everything we moved. And the nearest to main road, he dropped a very senior person. And he said that because very near, any emergency you can take and move. So you be here. Because those days, no mobiles, nothing. I'm talking of in 1987, 88. And after dropping each, village, 6 members, I was the last person of the fifth village, and he said, from here, I am going to the remote village. So that when I come back, all of us, we will take and we will go, because there is no communication. So 15 days we stayed. For every, in that 2 weeks reviews, he physically came and attended one particular day for each of us to discuss and work it out. And that is how, Professor Parasuraman giving a leadership even in the area of research. As a deputy director, by the time I know how busy he was, and I used to go to the airport, because by the time he enters NIRD and TIS campus, it will be difficult to get his time. So this best time is from airport to NIRD guest house. I used to be with him. I used to take all his approvals or papers, briefing like that. Very interesting is that when he comes to NIRD, he asked me that 2 to 3 hours, can I sleep? That was the state of his, this thing. So I used to tell him, have breakfast and then sleep. He says, breakfast is not my priority, let me sleep. Ask them not to disturb. And promptly, after within 2 hours, he will be fresh and he will come. I used to ask him, shall we send a vehicle? No, NIRD will drop me, don't worry, like that. So, you know, the way in which he rose to the occasion and attending, never he disappointed me. In spite of his busy schedules, even whether from Delhi or Bombay, he used to come to the Hyderabad campus and attending all our meetings and guiding us. You know, that is how he is always, because that is how he worked out. And I still remember when we did, around 300 modules for UGC project on population studies, I requested him, I want one video with you for one topic. So because the demography is a main issue which was the discipline. So what we did is, for his sake alone, in media studies, I requested them for 45 minutes slot and we did his video. So that, instantly he spoke and it was recorded. So, for him, it doesn't require any preparation. That is how he was molded. So I just want to conclude by stating that he is a very rare person where we have seen not only his dedication as a teacher, as a researcher, as a leader, but overall he is a very good human being. Very rarely seeing, interacting with from different ladders, what we see different hierarchy. For him, there is no hierarchy. All are human beings. That is what I feel that we should emulate from him and we should practice wherever we are. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
May I request Professor Shaban to come over?
There are many memories associated with him, and particularly the year he joined here. That was the year perhaps I was completing my probation. And I can say that he was a person who guided us, made us what we are today. I just briefly say 2-3 stories, very briefly, how much he was ingrained with the social sciences and social work. He always used to say that in the changing context, social work, which is actually has gone to the elite classes, need to be changed to the grassroots. Second, social sciences which have become too theoretical need to be grounded. And he said to me, when Professor Sivaraju is here, he called me in Delhi and said to me that you go to Tuljapur and do this and try to really bring some example of that. I tried my best to do that. One day he came to Tuljapur and I was sitting, and he used to come early in the morning with the train from here. And he came, he seemed to be very tired that day, and he put his feet on the table and he said to me, Shaban, someday I will go like this. I'm too tired now. All of you will take care of the institute? I said, sir, you have trained already enough soldiers. We are all there. Anybody who is from TISS and worked under you, guided by you, will not leave the TISS the way, and they will make the TISS as you wanted to make. And that was actually kind of a concern, his belonging to the TISS. Another learning, I will say that what I learned from him. Dr. Prashant may be coming, he was district magistrate of Osmanabad. one day, there was a function, annual function of Tuljapur campus. He was there as a district magistrate, and sir reached there. And he told me that Tata Motors have given me about 20 sewing machine. Shaban, what we should do? Dr. Prashant immediately woke up that I have a place where we are going to fit it and put the people and train the people. It happened to be a mazar in Osmanabad, a Sufi mazar. Dr. Prashant had made a house there, for the community training. I was uncomfortable that we are taking this sewing machine to a mazar. And the whole way I was uncomfortable. He called me and said, why you are uncomfortable? I said, I'm not comfortable, just pretended. He said to me, Shaban, this is India. You have to accept the diversity. You have to accept the people as they are. Do not impose your condition on the people. You accept it. The people belong to you. Work with them. And that was actually his commitment to the diversity, to the people. And third very, touching incident, I must tell you, there used to be Chaya Mausi in the campus. She retired. And he came one day and he asked me, where is Chaya Mausi? I said, sir, she retired. He said, no, go and bring, search her, where is she? Because this campus will not look good if she goes out from the campus. And we went, searched, we found her. And I heard that 2 weeks back, Chaya Mausi also passed away. And that was, Dr. Prashant is here. He's a witness, the way, the energy he carried and took us. And I think, as individuals, as a collective, sir, we will not allow you to fail. Whatsoever you gave us, we will give back to the institute, and we will keep on celebrating whatsoever you gave us and will pass on to the younger generation. Thank you very much.
Request Dr. Prashant Navare to say a few words.
With
Dr. Prashant Navare was a collector in Osmanabad, where he worked closely with Professor Parasuraman, and now he's Commissioner Social Welfare, Government of Maharashtra. He had an intense experience with Professor Parasuraman. Thank you.
with a heavy heart, today we are paying our respects to Professor Parasuraman for what he was and what he made out of all of us. Firstly, may God bless his soul with peace and give all peace to his heavenly abode. Respected Director Madam, dignitaries on the dais, and all the respected professors, senior dignitaries who are sitting before me, students. Today, we all are missing Professor Parasuraman, but I feel the way he changed this entire organization from one campus to such a big institute having several campuses all over, his historic work will be remembered long. He was not only a professor, he was a social reformer also. And that is how he and I, as Professor Saban mentioned, and also Professor Shahja knows, and I feel Madam also was a part of one of the program when Professor Parasuraman came to us to do work on malnutrition when I was the collector of Palghar. So he was a social reformer. He used to take out and diagnose the problems of society, and through his well-researched mind, he used to take out the solutions for the problems of society. As Professor Saban mentioned, when I was collector of Palghar and when we were working on farmer suicide, he decided to come and help us out, and one village in Tuljapur Taluka was adopted by TISS, and I, Professor Saban, who was a deputy director then, we worked and we came out with farmer producer companies. One milk company, Bhavani Shankar Doodh, that is a milk company which was then established, is still working and flourishing. I feel these are the, living examples that how one individual could give birth to the several institutions which continue to nurture coming generations. Similarly, in the area, the Mazar area of the Usmanabad, when it was decided that we should be helping certain Muslim women and girls to become self-empowered and a training institute should be established, I immediately sanctioned certain amount so that the building could be constructed, and rest of the thing Professor Parasuraman came, and then he decided to come up with certain kind of interventions for the livelihood measures. When I was collector of Palghar district, it is a tribal dominated district, and Professor Parasuraman wanted to do something for malnutrition. He came, he guided us, and we worked and continued to research on malnutrition, and several experiments we did. And I must say that out of those experiments, we could reduce malnutrition of Palghar to 1/3, and that was also acknowledged by the government when Mrs. Pankaja Munde was a minister for women and child. She appreciated our efforts even in the Vidhan Sabha during question hour. So I must say that whatever we are saying, it is one part of Professor Parasuraman. Like it is like a big elephant. Our eyes are tied, or we know elephant from one angle. So somebody would say that, touch the elephant's leg and they say that elephant is like this. Somebody touches his ears and will say elephant like this, but the full elephant is much more bigger than what we say. And I must admit that the personality of Professor Parasuraman is so big that it cannot only be described out of few examples. He was a great educationist, he was a great social reformer, thinker, institution builder, so on and so forth. He was, teacher to teachers, I must say. I have seen many professors coming to him for guidance, and he used to guide as if, he's a teacher of teachers, and he was equally humble. Many times I used to pass down, his house was here only. He used to live in the director's bungalow, and when he used to pass, during passing by this particular area, he used to talk to students with a great open mind, share the his views, and students used to feel that he is one of them. Very few academicians are like that, and very few institutions indeed have privilege to have such kind of leader. And I feel that Madam is having a great challenge to feel that kind of position which he used to have, and Madam rightly is taking his tradition forward. So I must also, say that Madam, because I was also professor of Professor Parasuraman requested me to join, because I was also from academic background before coming to IAS. So I became IAS by accident, because but in heart I am still a professor. That was my previous job when I joined this service. So he again requested me that I should join as adjunct professor in Tata Institute of Social Science. And with that, I must say he was my director, and I was one of the professors. So I must say that with the same zeal, madam, we all support you to make this institution great as it was always been. So thanks a lot for inviting me and giving me a great opportunity to speak my mind for, a great personality called Professor Parasuraman. Thanks a lot.
May I request Professor Lakshmi Lingam to come over? There is a diary which is going to be circulated. If anybody wants to put in there, any thoughts about Professor Parasuraman, we would like to have it in written in that diary, and that will be compiled together and given to Professor Parasuraman's family. So the diary is being circulated there. Anybody wants to write anything, you can do that. Thank you.
Good evening, TISS family. There's so much that one can talk about Professor Parasuraman, and we know the time is short, and this is not the time to speak elaborately about him. I joined TISS in 1988, and I went to meet him because he also had done briefly his PhD from IIT Bombay and then moved to IIPS. Since I came from IIT Bombay, I went to see him, and it took me a while to locate where he was in that office because he had tons of questionnaires, filled up questionnaires all on his tables, and he emerged from there. And that was my first interaction with him, of a person who reveled being within all those papers and all the time thinking about how he can make research talk to powers that be. And his enormous work in the Sardar Sarovar project connected him to several people's groups, so much so the National Alliance of People's Movements has actually taken its birth in the TISS campus. When he was not even a professor, not even a director at that time, he was a professor, all the movements in this country, people's movements in this country, assembled in TISS and formed the National Alliance of People's Movements. So when Professor Parasuraman came to TISS as a director, it was almost as if now all the people's movements have found their voice and their space in TISS. And during his entire term of 14 years at TISS, there were many such activities and events that took place where people walked up to him and said, we want to conduct this public hearing on health. We want to conduct this public hearing on the homeless, so on and so forth. And for every such request that came from the public domain, from civil society groups, from people's movements who did not have those funds, Professor Parasuraman always opened the doors. And therefore, TISS was therefore not just an institution that belonged to faculty who worked here and students who are studying here and all the staff that served this institution, but it was definitely seen as an institution that belonged to everybody out there. So this is one such institution that people always look up to for what we stand for. And he paved that path, which earlier leaders did, but I think he paved that path much more strongly. So the ideas of equity and justice were not mere concepts that are there in books and volumes and in our publications, but they were actually things that he operationalized. So when people walked up to him and asked for a thing or suggested certain things, and they definitely have financial implications, he always did not bring the money part first. He did not ever say that we don't have the money. And we all know as colleagues, we used to quip because he had his own English jargon also. He used to say, Amma, money is not a problem. Because for him it was, what is your intent? What is your conviction? And how committed are you to that idea that you're going to take it till the very end? And if you're committed, he's there with you. And he will find the monies. Therefore, it was always very interesting that when several programs started off in the institute, And therefore the demand for funding, demand for faculty went up. Always one wondered what happened at that point. And we always quipped that Professor Parasuraman put a few seeds in a little bucket and gave it all the heat, and so much popcorn came out of it that one bucket is not enough. So he was a man with huge ideas, huge vision, and always never said no. And that we know is always a problem. You should always say yes, and that's a very great ability to be able to say yes. But when do you say no is also a concern, right? So sometimes people used to walk and talk to him, and he used to say, you should join TISS. You should work with us. And within a week, they used to come and ask, can we get an appointment letter? Is there an office that you can show us? And Professor Parasuraman used to have a lot of difficulty dealing with that. And he used to send them off to Roja, or Roja used to send them off to me, because then we used to play the bad cop, And such an amazing person that everybody who met him always went back with a smile and a wonderful thought about who is a good human being in their mind. And everything that he touched, he changed in this institute. The logo has been changed by him. Okay? All the official stationery has been changed by him. We had an institute song that many of us used to sing Besura all the time. And for all occasions, we used to cobble up and sing Besura. One day he called me and he said, Lakshmi, I know you sing, I know you have friends who sing. Can you get this song done properly? And that's how we have the institute song that was formally recorded in a studio, and I sat through. And one of the best young budding musicians composed it, and he's a very big film composer now in Bollywood films. So every aspect of what he did, he knew how to identify the right person for the right job. And I think that's the amazing ability of this person. Even if he met someone once, he knew what they would be suitable for. And I really hope that as an institution, we take forward many of his dreams and take forward the idea that this belongs to us and it belongs to this country. And Professor Parasuraman taught us in many ways, and we should hold on to that idea. Thank you very much, and my condolences to the family. And I would like to say that your loss is all of our loss, and we are with you, and let's heal, but also let's celebrate. Thank you.
May I now request Professor Sita Prabhu to come over.
Thank you very much on this solemn occasion. I deem it an honor to be able to speak a few words about Professor Parasuraman, with whom I worked closely on his much loved PMRDF project, the Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellows Project. He believed so much in bringing development theory and development practice together. And in the Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellows Program, he had a project that was close to his heart. He put in his energy, he put in his time, and he put in all effort to ensure that the project would be a success, battling on various fronts, trying to mobilize people, resources, government support, including across the 18 state governments. When he requested me to take over this humongous project, having come after retirement as a Tata Chair professor, I was truly hesitant and took about 3 months to really say yes, because I thought my days of project management were over. But he persuaded me and said that it required a steering of a person who knew both development practice and theory. And there I was, and I'm grateful eternally to him for having given me this opportunity to understand how development can be delivered at the grassroots in so many of India's conflict-affected districts, which are really remote and difficult districts. For him, the students whom he had recruited after a very rigorous process had to be also equipped, and he felt that they had to go out with a degree, having come to TISS, and where TISS was the implementing partner. So lo and behold, if a degree did not already exist in the number of courses and degrees that TISS offered, he would devise one. And therefore, the postgraduate degree, MA in development practice, was specially formulated, went through the process of the academic council and introduced specifically for the fellows of the PMRDF. I think this much effort is something that no one else would have taken to ensure that the fellows who were placed in the districts doing rural development work, engaged in rural development, would also have the theoretical tools and instruments by which they could combine theory and practice. He also was a great believer in documentation and insisted that the personal experiences, along with the development initiatives of the fellows, need to be documented properly, and as a result of which, we have 2 volumes of Making Development Happen, Transformational Change in Rural India, which he co-edited with me. For the first volume, when we were writing up the introduction, he was very much there, participated. But by the time the second volume was, had been out, he was already very ill, though we had conversations on the telephone, and he was very happy that that had finally been published. I remember very fondly the various conversations that we had with him, the guidance that he provided, and all the PMRDF fellows, as a community, the faculty, the staff, and the fellows themselves are deeply grateful to Professor Parasuraman for the affection that he showed, the involvement that he had, and the dedication that he displayed towards each one of them. Today, many of them are in Harvard, in London School of Economics, established various enterprises, social work, as well as in the social sector. And each one of them fondly remembers and offers their homage to Professor Parasuraman. We offer our deep condolences to the entire TIS community, as well as to his family members. And this is a loss that is very difficult to replace. And it's very difficult to accept Professor Parasuraman's presence in a photograph rather than in person. But the reality of life strikes us very hard, and we have to absorb it. And I do hope that all of us will strive to work for the ideals that he stood for. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
May I request Professor Padma Sarangapani to come over. I request all those who are speaking, please introduce yourself. There are quite a few large number of people are watching it on the live stream. They might not know all of us. Thank you very much.
I'm faculty at the Institute, and I'm at the Center for Excellence in Teacher Education. I just want to talk about 3 qualities that endeared Professor Parasuraman to me and stood out. I constantly remember these qualities when I'm myself thinking about what needs to be done or how to respond to a situation. The first is his action-oriented optimism, never passing an opportunity to make good or meaningful things possible. He was a skillful interpreter of rules and norms to enable necessary things to happen, and he excelled in the art of the possible. The second quality is his immense faith in others, his willingness to trust, to decentralize, in order to enable many things to bloom and grow. No wonder so many like me, optimists hoping for things to do, flocked to him and to the Institute. And the third was his deep understanding of the transformation that is needed in higher education in India and how to critically reform higher education, to democratize it, both its content and its methods, to be relevant to society and to be widely accessible. I think if anyone really negotiated that elusive triangle that J.P. Nayak talked about, equality, quality, and quantity, I think Parasuraman was definitely the center of it. I think no other institute no other university in India could compare with the range of people and the ideas that he brought to this institute.
I remember, and I will miss the long emails he used to send to us on New Year's Eve, sharing with us everything that has happened in that year in such amazing detail. No detail was too small for him, and he didn't forget. I mean, that was the kind of attention that he paid to everything that was happening in the institute, and share it with all of us who would only glimpse parts of it. I personally benefited from all of these qualities, and so did that MA education program with which I came to the institute, and the discipline of education itself as it has been growing in this institute as a discipline of ideas and practice. It is his vision of TIS that flourishes today on the campus, and which I have grown to cherish as a very special place.
Now, may I request Professor Bipin Jojo?
Friends, I had a long association with Professor Parasuraman and with various capacities. I began my life, my interaction in TISS way back in 1990 as his MPhil student, and continued my MPhil, continued my PhD, and I was the first PhD student completing PhD under his supervision. So I had that privilege to work with him for MPhil and PhD. Coming from very conventional university systems, I had that respect and distance for a teacher. But he used to make me feel so comfortable, and so he never treated me as that I was MPhil student or PhD student. And so he gave me access to his computer in the office. So before he come to the office, before 10 o'clock, I used to walk in the computer for my MPhil drafting my MPhil. Sometimes he will call me home at 10 o'clock night, which was very uncomfortable for me. But that was the time he used to give me and discuss. Despite having this teacher-student relationship, the kind of informal relationship we had and the moment he shared with me, I think it is unforgettable. And that showed that warmth, simplicity, and his humility. And I think I have learned a lot from him about some of these immense important qualities of a good human being. I have spent time at the airport, spending the overnight, sharing the dormitory with him in the airport. Spent time over dinner, talking about various things. Traveled together in the train. And sometimes difficult to understand, to apprehend the kind of trust he had on certain difficult projects. I remember one of the very, very sensitive projects in Odisha, which TISS had agreed to work on. And suddenly during the vacation time, he called me and said, Bipin, we are working on this project and I have given you this responsibility. But I tell you, slight mistake we make, the whole institute will be devastated. So we have to be very careful. So I said, sir, if you have a trust on me, I will try my best and see that with your support and blessing, definitely we will work on that. Friends, colleagues, for the School of Social Work, Professor Parasuraman held a special place. He has taught some of us, and many of us students remember his lecture on social anthropology and rural camp he used to accompany. Students loved his tribal anthropology class and the rural camp he was there whenever, every year we used to have. He has been a long-standing colleague for many of us. All of us saw different side of him and spent time in different decades working with him. This is neither a hagiography nor a life story. It is perhaps fitting that we remember him through some of our many memories. As a teacher, he inspired through example. Simplicity, the ability to listen, feeling compassion, learning from others, and being in the field was promoted in the classrooms. He made knowledge easy, attainable, moral, and free-flowing. Thinking and believing like social workers, he taught students that the world and its many ills were harsh, and real world should be faced with, must be engaged with. He had immense faith in students, not for their academic brilliance or innate qualities, but because they could be persuaded to believe that the transformative change was possible and inevitable. The young, he felt, must be sheltered and nurtured so that they could reach for the stars, irrespective of the circumstances or the structures that bound and tied them down. Social activists and the civil society are going to miss the champion who stood by them, even for the causes that face insurmountable odds. Social change for Professor Parasuraman was not merely academic. It was about seeing the big picture without losing the sight of the person that suffers. Institutions for Professor Parasuraman were means to long process, a journey that must lead towards a fairer society, a more inclusive world. As he long strides into the sunset of his story, we are left to continue that paradoxical task of seeing the world for what it is and still believing that we can change. As social workers, we shall, of course, pick up the baton and run. Run, we shall. Thank you.
May I request Dr. Roshni Alfonso from Nirmala Niketan.
Good evening to all of you, respected members on the dais, all the staff, members and well-wishers gathered here. On behalf of College of Social Work Nirmala Niketan, staff and management, we offer our deep condolences. I, Ms. Roshni Alfonso, represent the management of Nirmala Niketan College of Social Work, Mumbai. Today, we are here to celebrate Professor Parasuraman's life and his contribution to the social work fraternity. Professor Parasuraman was a friend of our institute and collaborated closely with the College of Social Work, Nirmala Niketan, several times. He also helped us in restructuring our Nirmala Niketan Home Science unit. Our ikigai is different for all of us, but one thing we have in common is that we are all searching for a meaning. Professor Parasuraman had found his purpose, passion, and mission. He was an exemplary leader who scaled up DISS to various corners of India. We have lost a legend. A great soul serves everyone all the time. A great soul never dies. It brings us together again and again. I'm sure what we have received from Professor Parasuraman will be continued as a legacy through the students and staff of the institute. We pay our tribute to Professor Parasuraman and pray that may his soul rest in peace. I now request Professor Dr. Saman to kindly come, and also Ms. Sabina Gonsalves to kindly come and hand over the bouquet and the cards. Ms. Sabina Gonsalves is the Vice President of Nirmala Niketan Institute.
We just sing together. Eternal rest grant to him, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Now may I request our staff from the security team, Mr. J.B. Patil.
नमस्कार डायरेक्टर मैडम, डिप्टी डायरेक्टर मुक्ता और सब फैकल्टीज, स्टाफ, स्टूडेंट्स। एक्चुअली 2 तारीख को हमें मैसेज मिला, सुबह मॉर्निंग में मैं ड्यूटी पे था और हमें मैसेज आया कि सर नहीं रहे। और ये बात सुन के मतलब पूरा आँख से नमी, क्योंकि वो हादसा ही ऐसा था। क्योंकि मैं 2002 में कैंपस में ड्यूटी में ज्वाइन हो गया और सर 2004 में आ गए। लेकिन 2002 से लेकर 2 साल में हमने खुद देखा है कि कैंपस का कंडीशन क्या था, कैंपस किस तरह पर था। क्योंकि हम लोग जब भी ड्यूटी करते थे तो नया कैंपस हो या जो ओल्ड कैंपस हो, कि इतने स्नेक्स वगैरह और पूरा मतलब मॉस्किटो वगैरह इतने। लेकिन जब भी सर 2004 में आए और 2004 से लेकर 2018 तक ये 14 साल का सफ़र है। ये 14 साल के सफ़र में कि जो सर के नाम में परशुराम आए, कि एक्चुअली परशुराम में राम की तरह इधर आ गए। मतलब राम ने वो 14 साल का वनवास वहाँ पे किया, लेकिन सर ने वो 14 साल में सर को जो टाइम मिला उन्होंने पूरा कैंपस का चेहरा ही बदली कर दिया। कि क्योंकि सर ने एक बहुत बड़ा इतिहास रच के गया है सर। क्योंकि जब भी सर आउट ऑफ बॉम्बे रहते थे, कभी रात बेरात में जब भी आते थे, फिर भी हम लोग, हमारा कनेक्शन था सर के साथ में। क्योंकि हम सिक्योरिटी 24 घंटा ड्यूटी वाले, तो हार्ट टू हार्ट। क्योंकि आप जो मतलब 8 घंटा ड्यूटी खत्म हो गया और पूरा दिन बाद में घर पे जाता, लेकिन हम लोग को ऐसा नहीं है। क्योंकि हमारा शिफ्ट चेंज रहता है, तो सर का हमेशा कनेक्शन कंटिन्यू हमारे साथ में रहता था। तो जब भी एयरपोर्ट से आते थे, गाड़ी में बैठते थे, उधर आकर सुबह जाने के टाइम भी 5 बजे या 4 बजे निकलना है, फिर भी सर हमको बोल के जाते थे सिक्योरिटी को कि कैंपस की तरफ ध्यान दे दो करके। जब भी नाइट में भी आते थे तभी भी पूछते थे कि आपका सब ठीक है क्या, आप सब ठीक है क्या, आपने खाना किया। मतलब सर का जो सबकी तरफ देखने का एक तरीका था, बहुत बेहतरीन था। क्योंकि ये तो मैं शब्द में नहीं बोल सकता है, इसलिए मैं सर को, मैं हमारे सिक्योरिटी स्टाफ की तरफ से, सब फैकल्टी, टिस कैंपस की तरफ से भावपूर्ण श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करता हूँ। और सर की फैमिली, मुक्ता और मुक्ता की मिस्टर और मैम को, सबको मैं भगवान को प्रार्थना करता हूँ कि ये हादसा से बाहर निकले, शक्ति दे। बस, धन्यवाद।
Professor Vijay Raghavan.
Professor Parasuraman, I'm not going to talk about all the things that everybody has talked about. He was a great teacher, a fantastic teacher actually. He taught tribal anthropology, and all those batches in the 80s who were taught by him will never forget his class. he also used to give A's to all of us. Almost the whole class used to get an A. So it was very thrilling for all of us as students. A great human being and a visionary leader. So I'm not going to go into all those aspects. I'm just going to read out a message that one of my seniors, who was from the mid-80s batch, Criminology and Correctional Administration, she sent me this message about Professor Parasuraman. So she says, yes, Vijay, heard the sad news yesterday. He was a lovely soul. He once collected 4 or 5 of us from the campus and marched us off to a nearby police station to show numbers to release some Tamil migrants who were completely lost and traumatized because the police seemed to have rounded them up in a routine manner. He was so gentle and affable in class, but there we saw Parasu, who blazed in quiet righteousness and anger. I was a little clueless about what was happening, except that I was part of some support group, that this was during the first few weeks of our entry into TISS. But I do remember being enormously impressed at the way he soothed the hapless chaps respectfully and kindly in Tamil, even as he dealt sternly with the police. The migrants were released after a long negotiation. Then they almost fell over Parasu in relief, at which point he rounded us up and briskly, as we swiftly beat a retreat to the campus. His tribal anthropology classes were brilliant too. Very few of us, we missed those classes. One of TIS's rare gems. This in some ways kind of sums up Professor Parasuraman, the way they knew him in the 80s and the way we knew him when he left TISS. We also remember the 3 years then we did Nautanki in the TIS campus, and we made him join us at the end. So I would like to always remember all those happy memories that we have, because his greatness is something that I don't think I'm the right person to talk about it. Thank you.
May I request Mr. Gauri Shankar Kamble to come and read the message from Mr. Atul Kulkarni, SP Osmanabad.
I will read out the condolence message from Mr. Atul Kulkarni, IPS, Superintendent of Police, Osmanabad District. He was our alumni of 2010-12 batch. He completed his MSc in Habitat Policy and Practice from School of Habitat Studies. The message is in Marathi. Sir, तुम्ही केलेले संस्कार आयुष्यभर पुरतील. गुरूंची महती काही औरच. आई वडिलांनंतर शिक्षकच आपले व्यक्तिमत्व घडवतात. पोलीस अधीक्षक कुलकर्णी यांनी त्यांच्या गुरुबाबत व्यक्त केलेल्या भावना. आदरणीय स्वर्गीय परशुरामन सर, आज शिक्षक दिन. खरं तर शिक्षक दिन हा आपल्याला जीवनाची दिशा देणाऱ्या शिक्षकांविषयी कृतज्ञता व्यक्त करण्याचा, सरांची आपुलकीनं खयाल खुशाली विचारण्याचा दिवस आणि या दिवसाच्या पूर्वसंध्येलाच आम्हाला सोडून गेलात. सर, यामुळे माझं कधीही भरून न येणारं नुकसान झालं आहे. सर, तुम्ही समाधानाने जगण्याची, धैर्याने वागण्याची, समाजाभिमुख कार्याची प्रेरणा दिली. आई वडिलांनंतर शिक्षक हेच पहिले गुरु असतात, जे आपल्याला योग्य अयोग्य यातला फरक समजावून देतात. आपल्या मार्गदर्शनामुळेच मी IPS बनू शकलो. सर, आपण दिलेल्या मार्गावरून प्रामाणिकपणे सेवाभाव जपत सेवा कार्य करत राहू, एवढाच शिक्षकदनी शब्द. आपला विद्यार्थी अतुल कुलकर्णी, पोलीस अधीक्षक, उस्मानाबाद. थँक्यू.
Now may I request Professor Lata Narayan. Professor Lata Narayan is here. Will come later. Okay. Now I request Mr. Tariq.
ऐसे इंसान के लिए क्या कहें जो आई मीन everybody experienced him differently, everybody felt him differently. वो उनसे जो भी मिला आई थिंक उन्होंने सबकी ज़िंदगी को छुआ. मैं जब यहाँ से पास आउट हुआ तो आई जस्ट वेंट टू हिम एंड मेरा सब कुछ, ऑल माई ईयर्स टिल नाउ, ही हैज़ बीन द पार्ट ऑफ एवरीथिंग. वो कहते थे कि कभी भी डोंट फियर, नेवर कॉम्प्रोमाइज, नेवर स्टॉप, नेवर गिव अप. मैं जब उनसे मिलने यहाँ आते थे तो ही वुड ऑलवेज टेल रोज़ा मैम, बिफोर मैं मिलूँगा उससे पहले, रोज़ा फीड हिम, दिस बर्ड डजंट ईट. वो मतलब एक हम सब जानते हैं कि इंस्टीट्यूशनल बिल्डर थे, एक विजन था उनका. मुझे लगता है कि उनकी सबसे बड़ी जो खूबी थी वो आपके कहने से पहले वो आपकी तकलीफ को महसूस करने की उनकी एक काबिलियत थी. एंड ही कुड सी थ्रू पीपल, he would know almost everyone by their names. जो लोग सालों से यहाँ काम कर रहे हैं, probably हम लोग शायद नहीं जानेंगे नॉर्मल तरीके से जो होता है, but he would know them, he would think of them. मैं और एक अलग ही तरह की उनकी सोच थी. जो जैसे मैं कभी कभी बहुत डिसअपॉइंट होता था. मैंने आपको बहुत लोगों को नहीं मालूम होगा, मैंने 2006 में यहाँ से पढ़ाई ख़त्म की और फिर यहाँ पे काम शुरू किया. अभी एक इंस्टीट्यूट का एक फील्ड एक्शन प्रोजेक्ट है, कोशिश में उसमें काम करता हूँ. और कभी कभी बहुत प्रॉब्लम होती थी तो झगड़ा होता था, मैं गुस्सा करता था, उनके साथ मैं लड़ सकता था. दैट इज़ ऑल्सो लाइक दैट्स हिम. आप उनके साथ में व्हेन यू हैव अ रिलेशन, ही लव्ड यू सो मच कि आप उनके साथ लड़ते थे. और मैं बोलता था कि मुझे जाना है, मैं जा रहा हूँ बिकॉज देयर आर सो मेनी प्रॉब्लम्स. Sir, I want to go because there are a lot of issues here. This place, I don't want to be here. There are so many problems. And he would say, stay here because there are so many problems. So that's how he looked at life. That's how he looked at issues. मैं इतना ही बोलूँगा. Thank you.
Request Professor Lata Narayan.
When I see this photograph, this is what Parsu means to us. Us, I mean the Unit for Child and Youth Research. I joined in 1984 with the Unit for Child and Youth Research. And he would always say that the best years of TIS were in that unit. Vrinda Datta, Kamini was very much part of it, Mrs. Rani, who else was there? Vandana Chakravarti, the ex-Vice Chancellor of SNDT, she was doing her PhD. And the context was different, there was no pressure. So we, apart from his work, we saw such a human part of him. That's why I could give Mukta a hug, because we used to have lunches, dinners at his place, at Vrinda's place. It was a family, extended family. And so when I think of Parsu, it's that, with a smile and a twinkle in his eye, and ever ready to be available and be there for you. I remember an incident in the PMRDF. I'm thinking of Aarti Upadhyaya now. I don't know where it was, Bhopal or Delhi. And a few of us faculty and we all had to go for some work there for the training of the fellows. And it was night, and Aarti and I, she was coordinating the whole project. We were next door to each other with rooms. And in the night, around 10 o'clock, she came to my room and said, hey, look, you know, I got a message that Professor Parasuraman might just land up and there is no room for him. So maybe I'll just have to join you in your room. Said, fine with us. And we were getting ready for her to come. She came with a laptop, this, that. And suddenly she gets a call from Parsu saying that, so she asked, sir, where are you? He says, I'm outside your room. And we opened the door, and believe me, he was sitting on the floor outside her room, working on his laptop. And, you know, we literally had to pull him up and say, what are you doing here? You know, we've kept this room ready for you. No, please, Aarti, don't cause discomfort for yourself, because I'll go to the lobby and work. I am not going to sleep in the night. We literally had to push him into his room and say, no, you must rest by the next day. So it was just, you know, that humanness just being there. This is the incident which really comes to my mind, apart from all that has been said. And for us, the memories of UC Vihar is so special, and he was such an integral part of that process. Thank you.
May I request Mr. Hemanda to come over. Please introduce yourself and also as brief as possible.
Professor Parsu. That's how many of us in our batch, in 2005-07 batch, we used to speak about him, Professor Parsu. He taught us one thing very, very significantly, that's compassion. We were such a notorious batch, we made him to have a midnight meeting one day. Even though we forced him to have that midnight meeting, he didn't get into the part of inquiring as to whether it is right or wrong to have a meeting at that moment or at that time. He just patiently listened to us and he said, let's meet tomorrow. And next day also he didn't. He never went into or he didn't divulge into the facts as to whether the meeting that we forced him to have it at the midnight was right or wrong. That's how he taught us that there is nothing called right or wrong. It's everything about circumstantial. Let's all learn to have that. And as a social scientist, you all need to have that. That's how he taught all of us through his actions. And that's why he will live for a long time through all of us, or many who are in this development fraternity, and he will definitely live for a long. Professor Parsu, thank you.
Now I request Professor Vandana Sonalkar.
Like all of you, I was extremely shocked and saddened to hear the news of Professor Parasuraman's passing away. My short stint at TIS, at the end of a career where I had been in Aurangabad, was still an intense period, and my interactions with Professor Parasuraman will remain with me forever. Everybody has talked about his greatness as a teacher and as a teacher of teachers and running an institute where there were so many different kinds of departments. Everybody knows how he expanded the institute. One of the departments was the Center for Women's Studies, which had existed for a long time, but was a bit of a beleaguered department because the UGC would not give it a continuing grant. There were many teachers who were on short appointments which were only renewed every year. And so there was always a certain kind of tension among us. I found that Professor Parasuraman was always willing to listen. After I became chairperson of Women's Studies, I found him always approachable. The kind of attention to detail, the sympathy with which he heard us out, even though he was not always able to solve our problems. And even though, sometimes we felt angry with him because of that. Not just looking back, but even then, I think we were aware of how he was a man willing to take risks for the sake of his beloved institute, to make it even more profound, even more related to all the marginalized sections of this society. I think he understood the importance of women's studies and, dealing with such a wide range of subjects. The conversion from a social work institute into a social science institute and so many branches. I think we admired him for that, and yet he never let the distance between us when we met in his room and sat at a table in front of him. We always felt that distance was not unbridgeable, that we could reach him. I think that is his greatness. There are many things. I am just privileged that I had the chance not just to interact with him, but to be able to work with Professor Parasuraman for a number of years at the end of my career. Thank you.
Thank you. May I request Deepak Nanda, who was a student union president between 2015-16.
Respected Professor Bharat, Director, Professor Jaswal, Deputy Director, family members, other dignitaries on the dais, and other faculty members, my friends. It is definitely a difficult day to stand here and share our memories on Professor Parasuraman. I remember we used to sit here in Independence Day and Republic Day celebration. Just I was recalling now, one day I was speaking here and sir was sitting there. He was the director of Tata Institute of Social Science. But he was such a humble and down-to-earth person, he had never bothered about chairs. He used to sit here and clap for the students, those who were performing. So definitely before me, many have already said how he was a great teacher, a leader, an able administrator. But from the students' point of view, what we have seen, I'm one of the privileged students that I became president in 2015-16, the Students' Union. And we had a multiple occasion to work with sir. And that was also the year where the NIC team had visited. So therefore, our interaction was much more. And that is how I know him very well in that one year of a very small period of time. I would say sir was very much concerned for the students. Definitely, before me, many has already said, he has never said no to anyone or anything. He would discuss if something is not able to do, maybe the financial resources or whatever may be, he would discuss. So this is how we have worked together. His office was always open for the Students' Union. I didn't see, so before that, but the way he coordinated with the Students' Union in that particular year, it is really praiseworthy. He used to call me Nandaji. It's very difficult to take in that way, but he used to call me Nandaji sometime. So this is what the level of humility he had. I remember there was a case there. One police affair was had taken place for a student, and he was not there in campus. He was there in Hyderabad, and in the same night he came. And suddenly he had good contact also. He managed how to handle it. And the next the police visited here in the same place. I remember he did namaskar to the policeman. And I remember the policeman saying, "See the greatness. He is the director of Tata Institute of Social Science and he is doing namaskar to me." See, this is the intelligence. This is the experience he had, how to manage some of the critical situation. And that is how we dealt. And I have learned many things that actually, both in personally and professionally, and I have many other incidents also. That was the time, 2015-16, there was campus turmoil. In Hyderabad campus, Central University of Hyderabad, there was Rohit Vemula cases. Everywhere there were protests all over the university in India. And so in the December, January, there were cases with Kanhaiya Kumar. So same thing also happened in TISS. And he used to always say, all the students union members, we are a very small campus. Don't compare us with JNU. We cannot afford a situation like JNU. They have resources, they have money, and they have everything, political power. But as a small campus, we must care any kind of campus confrontation with the students. We had a GBM, General Body Meeting, with all the students. I have seen that was one of the highly sensitive General Body Meeting with the students in 2015 in Clifford Hall. There were 100% chances there could have some kind of confrontations, and next day it was kind of a JNU kind of situations. And anyhow, we managed to deal with the situation, and abruptly we stopped the GBM. After 2-3 days we met. He came to know anyhow, so how was the situation and how we could avoid the confrontations. He argued me. So this is what the level of understanding and level of experience he has, and we are really as a students and students union member benefited. I would like to read out maybe 2-3 sentences on behalf of all the students union members of 2015-16. We decided, because we have worked very closely in that year, to a message. We, the former members of T Students Union 2015-16, deeply mourn the sad demise of Professor Parasuraman, former director of Tata Institute of Social Science, Mumbai. The Students Union 2015-16 had an opportunity to work with Professor Parasuraman during our tenure. He was an amazing teacher, administrator, and leader. With his support, we did multiple works for the welfare of students. He had always prioritized students' issues, and found the solution for them. His office was always open for the Students' Union, and his smooth coordination with the Students' Union is praiseworthy. Students and campus were his priority. He saved few students' career and life by handling critical issues with sheer cleverness and intelligence. He was humble and down to earth and would love to interact with students always. We had a great working with him and have immensely benefited from his experience, advice, and opportunities personally and professionally. He will be remembered forever, and his demise created a void in Indian academia and administration. We express our deepest condolences to the bereaved family and the friends. Rest in power, Professor Parasuraman, sir. Thank you.
Now I request Mr. Sivakumar.
Okay, good evening. So we as Computer Center, we had two set of teams worked with Professor Parasuraman, sir. The first set of team worked with the data. They always remember how they all enter a data and reproduce results. The another set of team, we all worked after 2000, the initial part of a team when sir was with research methodology, and the next team we worked with establishing IT infrastructures. It all started with sir asking, we had a time where we used to have internet only 2 hours in the institute.
which had been extended to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Then sir asked one day why we don't keep it open 24/7. So that's the time we started building our data center, and what all we have an infrastructure we have today. We started building 2 data centers, one in Mumbai, one in Guwahati. As a result of such discussion, sir always want to extend a facility to students. So, and then this has extended to the hostels, Wi-Fi in hostels, and 24 hours cyber library. I also have an incident where I need to say that sir wants to work with a piece of paper around 7 p.m. to computer center. So you want to see some alternative scenario of the result. You want to, when a new program introduced, I given him a result, sir wants to see how a result look like. He already has an answer before I produce a result and it comes out to be true. Sir always envisions and ensure that he knows the result before the things are produced. I also want to say on behalf of all the team who worked with us in Computer Center, they all fondly remember Professor Parasuraman sir as a wonderful person, and he also offers them challenge to work. When we hesitate to do anything, sir always says, it's not a rocket science, go, come back. So we also, that gives us a motivation, we go, come back and produce results. At this time, on behalf of all my Computer Center staff and associates worked in different projects, I offer condolences to the family and prayers for Sir's soul to rest in peace.
Now I request Roja Pillai, who worked closely with Professor Parasuraman.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, dear Mukta, Siddhant, and my colleagues and sirs, well-wishers who have come to pay homage to him. I had the privilege of working as secretary, personal secretary to him from 2004 to 2013. And I would like to remember him as the most humble, kind-hearted, and who would like to treat each and everybody with dignity. This I would like to say because he would never introduce me as his secretary. He would always introduce me as his colleague. I enjoyed working with him as he would give you the due importance and also treat you as his team member. He had the special knack of identifying each one's strengths. Like Shamim said the other day in Pune, that she didn't know that she could undertake training, and he was the one who said that go ahead and do the trainings. That was the quality he had in him. He was, one faculty used to share with me, he was always bubbling with ideas. So she said we used to dread sitting next to him in social events because he will always, after the initial pleasantries, he will share his ideas. So why don't we do this, why don't we do that? So she said, हमको काम पे लगाते थे, इसलिए we used to sitting next to him. He also hated the word no. He wants whatever is his dream, it should be done. He will never ask how you did it. He will give you the full freedom, trust, and he knows that we will never betray his trust. So if you go and tell him that, you know, sir, this is not possible, so and so saying, in Tamil he will say, Manangate. That was his favorite word. I know Professor Sengupta used to send him article on how to say no. He will say, Roja, please share with him and stick it on his, notice board. He doesn't know to say no to him. So these are the some of, fond memories of him. I have so many memories, but the time is short, so I have been told to cut short my speech. So my heartfelt condolences to his family, and I pray to Almighty that my beloved director, former director Professor Parasuraman, may rest in peace. Om Shanti.
Now I request Soma Sarkar on behalf of research students.
I'm a PhD scholar in the School of Development Studies.
and thank you for the opportunity to share a few words remembering Professor Parasuraman. When I came to TIS for my MPhil in 2016, like many other newcomers, I was a bit nervous coming from a very small town to an institution like TIS. But when we met Professor Parasuraman during our orientation, all our nervousness were gone. In the highly formal academic space of the old conference hall, he addressed us on a very personal note. He shared with us his journey from Tamil Nadu to TIS and encouraged us to be fearless and dream big in life. Whenever we used to meet on campus, most often near the library, he used to call us Amma and asked us about how our research is going on and gave us suggestions on how to improve it further. As a research scholar, the most important thing that I have learned from him is to situate our research in the broader context and reflect on the question of how is it going to contribute to the society. He has always emphasized on the need to translate the theories that we learn in the class to practice in the field at the grassroots. He encouraged us to pursue grounded research along the lines of equity and social justice. I wish we had more time with Professor Parasuraman and learn from him. Unfortunately, he is not with us, but his teachings shall forever remain with us, guiding us in the different ways of our life. His legacy continues. I offer my condolence to Sir's family and loved ones, and may Sir rest in peace. Thank you.
Now I request on behalf of the students, current students, Anant Prakash Tiwari, on behalf of Culture Collective TISS.
एतबार है कि हैं जहाँ आबाद रहेंगे वो, एक हस्ती की तरह ताउमर याद रहेंगे वो। एतबार है कि हैं जहाँ आबाद रहेंगे वो, एक हस्ती की तरह ताउमर याद रहेंगे वो। दामन में इतने ऐसे एहसान रख दिए कि मेरी हर दुआ में बनकर फरियाद रहेंगे वो। पसीनाए मशक्क़त से इदारे बनाते गए, शागिर्द बेअकल को इल्म नज़ारे दिखाते गए, गैरों के सर बुलंदी का सहरा लगाते गए और ज़िंदगी तालीम के हक में पहरा लगाते गए। सुनी सी लग रही है आज ये इल्म इमारत कि किताब इल्म की दुनिया में आज़ाद रहेंगे वो। यूं तो भीड़ में पिघल कर दुनिया गुजरती है कि दिल की सरजमी में बनकर शहजाद रहेंगे वो। नज़रें हैं बेकरार के अश्क मानते नहीं, नज़रें हैं बेकरार के अश्क मानते नहीं कि सजदाए अश्क में रह रह कर आदाब रहेंगे वो। एतबार है कि हैं जहाँ आबाद रहेंगे वो।
May I request Professor Parasuraman's beloved daughter Mukta to come say a few words.
Papa was a very passionate and driven man. Work was his passion, work was his love. That is what he always thought of. Family was second. And, when I was younger, I would resent that. I was unhappy, because we were always second in his life. But today, when I hear all of you speak about him, I understand, I understand why, and he's really impacted lives, transformed lives, made such a change. I am a proud daughter, and I really hope and I pray that his legacy lives on forever. I miss you, Papa.
We'll play a short video which will, we try to capture his journey in TISS through different moments. This is not a complete capturing of the events. We quickly put this up together. We would like to present it before you. we will be making a refined version later and releasing it separately.
And this is a composition by the great Sitarit Nishad Khan Sahib, Rag Jhanjhoti. This is a poetry collage that I have prepared and dedicated to Professor Parasuraman, and it speaks, multiple languages, including Indic and other traditions of offering prayer and peace to the departed soul, beginning with Auden's famous memorial poem, and then Maya Angela, and also Scott, and then ending with a little Kabir bhajan, That's the melange I am producing. Dedicated to once again Professor Parasuraman and to his memory. Stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone, prevent the dog from barking with a juicy bone, silence the pianos with muffled drum, bringing out the coffin, let the mourners come. He was my north, he was my south, my east and west, my working week and my Sunday rest, my moon, my midnight, my tongue, my talk, my song. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light and rare. We breathe briefly. Our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory, suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words, unsaid, promised walks never taken. Remember me when I am gone far away into the silent land, when you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I hearten to go at turning stay. Remember me when no more day by day, you tell me of your future that you have planned. Only remember me and you understand. Call me by the old familiar name, speak of me in the easy way which you used to. Put no difference into your tone, where no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes that we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be over the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without any effort. Why should I be out of your mind because I'm out of your sight? I am but waiting for you for an interval. Somewhere where near, just around the corner in the institute. Come near and now. मैं वारी जाऊं रे बलिहारी जाऊं, मारे सतगुरु आंगन आया, मैं वारी जाऊं, सतगुरु आंगन आया है, हे गंगा गोमती लाया है, मारी निर्मल हो गई काया, मैं वारी जाऊं. Thank you very much. Now the 2-minute silence we will observe. Please. Now is, the last part, so you can come here, offer your last respect to him. And if you want to candlelight, it's available here. Our students are here, they will offer you candle also. Thank you very much. Once again, on behalf of TISS and director and the entire team, Professor Shahjahan and everyone, we thank you for being with us today. Thank you, Professor Shahjahan.
There is a diary being circulated. Those who have written, the diary will be here for 1 week. And those who want to write in can contact the director's office and make their comments on it. Then we will be sending it to the family after this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.